I'm not a paranormal investigator. Talk about being scared. I'll go look for a bipedal hominid out in the woods, no problem. You put me in a house with a possible ghost in it, we got issues.
There's a
But
force in all of us that science knows nothing about, the force of fear.
Welcome everyone to Induced Fear. I'm your host Oscar, and with me I have a Bigfoot episode, which I've been wanting for a long time. And I have with me Mike Familant, right?
hey guys, yeah, hey, what's going on, Oscar? How's it going, man?
It's going pretty good. How about yourself?
Oh, doing great. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's late on your end, right?
Yeah, it's just 9 o'clock. It's not too bad.
Okay. All right. I was like, man, I hope it's not too late for him.
No. I have a couple ones that podcasts coming up from England, and that's a weird time difference. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna either get up really super early or it's gonna be an odd time in the afternoon. So, but it's pretty cool though.
Yeah. I had a friend on who is in Australia, and they're a
Mm.
full day ahead. So they were like Friday, and I was like, okay, cool, Friday. And then
Ah.
Thursday happened, and they were like, you still ready to go? And I was like, oh wait, no, I forgot there's a day ahead.
Right.
uh, but you are on here to talk about Bigfoot. Uh, I think in your message you said that you worked on a project involving
Yeah,
Bigfoot.
I produced a documentary. It's called "In the Shadow of Big Red Eye." We go all over the country and we look for Bigfoot. I've been doing it since I've been looking for Bigfoot since 2011. We've been doing the documentary since 2016. So it's been a couple years, and it's been an awesome road so far.
What was your origin story to Bigfoot? Like, what
Oh,
was the
so
main
so
thing to kick it
it's
off?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I never was into Bigfoot. I never was an outdoor kid growing up. I was always an indoor kind of video game uh, child and teenager. And then I got engaged and I moved to Florida and I was working on a beach resort. And I was watching Finding Bigfoot on TV because I was bored and there was nothing else on TV. So I got into it, and I was like, at the end of one episode, they were like, "Hey, if you want to come out with us, you can go onto our website." So I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So I went onto their website and I filled out this, and I paid like a lot of money for these non-refundable tickets, right?
Uh,
And then I went home and I was like, "Hun, guess what we're doing?" And then we broke up. I don't know. We broke up before the wedding. I don't know if it was because before this expedition. I don't know if it was because of this or some other reason. I don't know. But so I had this non-refundable ticket, and I moved up to Tampa to work on the ambulance for the city. And I picked my weirdest partner because I was brand new, and the trip was coming up in like a week. So I picked the weirdest person I was working with. I was like, Jimmy, you want to come to North Florida and look for Bigfoot with me? And he's like, oh, I've always wanted to do that. And we've been best friends to this day. So anyways, we go up to North Florida and nothing happens the entire time. It was quite a bust of a trip. There were like 60 other people there. And shockingly, if you walk through the woods with 60 people, nothing tends to happen.
especially with all that noise going on and everything like that.
Yeah, yeah, everything, within a 20-mile radius that has a brain knows that there's 60 people in the woods is gonna get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
Um, but what's interesting is except for the last night it was like 4 o'clock, and me and my buddy Jimmy were up watching the meteor shower, because it was a cool, clear night, and we haven't seen the night sky like that since we were from the city of Tampa, and it was like 4 in the morning, and we heard a tree knock, and it came from one direction. Um, and I instantly thought it was like, oh, I paid a lot of money. It's these people that put on the expedition that are putting, that are doing the knock on the tree to make it seem
Putting on
like,
a show.
yeah, got it. Okay, cool. Uh, then another one happened right after that, on the complete opposite side of camp. And I was thinking, wow, these people are pretty good. You know what I mean? And then what was crazy is about 5 minutes later, we're just sitting there, not really talking, or maybe we were talking, I can't remember. But like a rock, like fist size, kind of like this big, comes crashing through the trees and lands like 5 feet from our fire.
Whoa.
And yeah, and that was enough to freak me out. This is my first time ever camping, mind you. So I was like, nope. This, and my buddy was like, Jimmy, or was like, Mike, if you want to sleep in the car, you're more than welcome to. And before he could finish the sentence, I had all my camping gear and I was beelining it for the car. Um, but then he talked some sense into me and was like, Mike, this could be a Bigfoot thing. This might be, real evidence. Well, this is what we're here for. Why don't you come out and sit by the car? So I was like, yeah, you're probably right. And after about an hour, he convinced me. Uh, and then four more of those fist-sized rocks came and landed within 5 to 10 feet of our campfire. And that happened over the next like 15 minutes or so. So my buddy Jimmy, he was like, I'm gonna throw a rock back at it. And I said, I don't think that's a good idea because because it's either a person or a Bigfoot at this point, and it's a lose-lose. I don't see a win in this scenario. So he throws a rock back at it, and I knew it wasn't a person at that exact moment because a laptop-sized boulder came crashing through the trees and landed like 5 feet from us.
Whoa.
So, and then everything stopped. Nothing else happened, and that was my initial experience with Bigfoot, and that kind of led into going on looking into more, watching more TV shows and more, doing more research and expedition stuff, and going on more expeditions, and then I ended up making a show about it.
Wow. Yeah. See, I have yet to have a Bigfoot experience, but it sounds like yours
Oh
was just like this spur of the moment thing that
yeah,
you were like, why not do this? You go out there, you think it's a bust, and then all of a sudden craziness happens.
yeah,
And I like the fact that you even rationalize it in the beginning. Like, okay, we paid a lot of money. These guys are just trying to make
sure,
sure we get our money's worth. But then once you start feeling that fear, and then also the giant boulder that comes flying in is
yeah,
like a giveaway
yeah.
that's like, okay, it's not them messing with us.
Well, and I'll tell you, we did some measurements after that, and the closest the thing could have been, like the very closest, because of the terrain, we took all that. We did like some very scientific stuff, and the closest it could have been was like 100 yards.
All right.
So that's I don't know if Nolan Ryan's out there with a throwing laptops through the woods or not, laptop sized rocks through the woods or not, but if it'd be far fetched if that could have been a human doing that.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know what to do. I don't know if I would have been like your friend and saying, "I'll throw one back," or I would have just gotten the hell out of there.
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely two opposites of two opposite ways of handling the situation, fight or flight, and I definitely was the flight situation there.
Yeah. Well, especially because 'cause you're out of your element there. You said you've
Mm.
never really gone camping before in that moment, so you're completely out of like a fish out of water there.
Oh yeah.
So, what were the first things that you said you did right after this happened? I know you said you watched more shows, you kind of dove into it.
Yeah. So, I looked up reports and I saw like Florida, and especially where I was in the Tampa area, was really big on Bigfoot sightings. So, me and my buddies recruited a couple of our EMT friends, and we went Bigfooting for ourselves. So we didn't have to pay a bunch of money to go out and do this. We kind of learned and then went and did it ourselves, which I would highly suggest that anybody who's looking to get into Bigfoot, don't pay a bunch of money to go do something, especially if you don't know if you like to do it or not. Try it first
Yeah.
before it just makes sense. Don't be like me. But um, I'm not saying don't go on the expeditions. The BFRO expeditions are great, but it's a lot of money to not know if you've never been in the woods before. But anyways, I digress. Yeah, so I started getting more into the expeditions and buying more gear and stuff, and then I had my second encounter, which happened in Colt Creek State Park, which is in the Green Swamp in Central Florida, which is halfway between like Ocala and Orlando. And that night we were walking, and it was kind of like a no holds barred kind of night. I was doing vocalizations like left and right. So like I was saying before, like anybody in the area knew that that we were there and should have gotten out of the area. And we were brand new to bigfooting at this point. Like I said, we were just getting into it, and we were going down and we were doing what we saw on the shows, which is doing vocalizations all the time and stuff like that,
Yeah.
like they do on TV. Come to find out, that's not how you actually go bigfooting, contrary to popular belief.
Yeah, it's almost like
um
when people watch Ghost Adventures and they start screaming at a ghost or something like
ex-
that.
it-
Yeah.
yeah, 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 it's made for the ratings, and that's kind of why I made the show, because I will get into that in a minute. But so yeah, we were walking down the trail, and I was doing vocalizations, and Jimmy had his big machete and his like 8 million lumen spotlight going, and well, he's shining it, and we see two sets of of like reflecting eyes. One set was like a fire, like fiery orange red, and the other set was like an aqua blue. And we kind of were just holding the light on it for a second, and we instantly thought it was two people. At this point, since we were so new, we didn't realize that humans didn't have eye shine. So we were calling out. We thought it was poachers hunting. So we're like, "Hey, hey, hey! This is just two stupid Bigfoot people. We'll go back to camp and leave you guys alone. It's not a big deal." And then no response, whatever. And then the one set, the red set, turned and looked at the blue set, turned and looked back at us, and then blinked. And then we were out of there. Nope. We said absolutely not. But Jimmy, he was smart, and with his machete, he marked the tree. So that way, when we went back there the next day, we were able to do like one of those, like again, like we saw on TV. And I went out to where the eyes were, and I raised my hands and did the whole, and the eyes were at like 8 feet
Oh,
tall.
to get to perspective type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Exactly. So, and the eyes came back about 8 feet tall. So, that was pretty neat. That was my second really thing, and that's what really got me into like, okay, what could this possibly be out there? And the
Yeah.
only thing that I could have got for the eyes was like two owls sitting on a palmetto branch, which is not a branch at all. With each other, and that doesn't happen. So it's so outrageous to think what that could have been.
Plus the two different colored eye shine
Exactly.
from it. Like that's really weird for it to have
Yeah,
the two different colored eye shine.
because animals have in the same species, they have the same color.
Yeah.
So it's unusual to have two different colors next to you. So I
It
guess
does the fear become easier to handle? Like as the from the first time you went and you had the rocks getting thrown, then when you saw the eye shine, is it the same kind of fear that you feel in that moment? Is it this primal kind of fear like I just need to get out of here?
yeah, I know what fear you're talking about, and it's not
Yeah.
that. It's
Okay.
it's this is more of a I feel like someone's going to kill me fear. Like this is a horror
Oh,
movie feeling. But
okay.
I know exactly that feeling that you were talking about. In one of my YouTube videos, I actually have it. I was filming the entire time this happened. And I was hiking on this trail that I've always hiked on. It's in right behind my house, and I can't tell you how many times I've hiked it solo with people, day, night. Totally, I could do it blindfolded. And uh, I was doing this hike at night, and then boom, it about a mile into it, it hit me something. I like hit a brick wall, and it said something said stop. You're not going any further. And then I looked, and I saw like a tree structure or tree break that wasn't there, like a week prior. I think it was like a week and a half prior, and I could not finish the hike. I had to turn around. I had to call my buddy to come pick me up. I was that petrified that I could not finish the 3 mile hike. I was already a third of the way into it, and I couldn't finish it.
Wow. And do you attribute that to just because I'm gonna ask probably a lot more questions than I ask normally when I have
Yeah,
somebody on
no,
the
I
show.
love it. It's cool.
Um, do you attribute that to the infrasound that people
Mm,
say they feel,
yeah,
or just a primal type of fear? Like some people say that a Bigfoot or Sasquatch has um, a higher vibration because they're so connected to the woods
Mhm.
in that aspect. So is it more of that kind of woo type of thinking in like they're just at a higher vibration, or is it just this infrasound like primal type of fear?
Personally, I think Bigfoots are of a biological philosophy. That's kind of my route that I take. Um, so I think that fear would be more of an infrasound because we do know animals give that off, that infrasound.
Yeah.
Large animals do give that off, and I think that totally would be something that a Bigfoot absolutely could do, 100%. So
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
I
especially
think
if we have other animals that do it.
yeah, yeah, and I know that I've been around Bigfoot in the past, close by, I guess, if you will, and I've not gotten that fear. Where in this encounter, I had no idea that there was one even around. I didn't hear anything. I didn't. The only thing was my sixth sense of, oh crap, something's not right here. So that's it was so wild to me. I've never have I experienced that since then either. That was a couple years ago.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even know how to handle probably feeling that out of nowhere. And you said it just felt like something telling you like, "Hey, just turn around, buddy.
Yeah, yeah.
Just get
It's
out of
like
here."
it felt like if I went further, then something bad was going to happen to me. And I think the most unnerving part about it was the fact that I've been on this trail so many times, and this is totally not normal for me. Like, this is something that's out of the norm. Like, it's not just like, "Oh, I'm scared because I see this tree break or something." This is
Yeah.
like or I'm on a new trail and it's at night and I'm getting kinda lost, and I don't know where I am, or it's like, "Oh, man, I'm kinda getting concerned because I don't have a lot of water left." This is like, this is like, I don't know, something completely different.
Yeah, what was this one how many years or maybe was it months after the one where you saw the eye shine?
Oh
Was
god,
this
this was back a couple years ago, so this was, I don't know,
okay.
8 years later. I was so comfortable being in the woods, like, I did solo overnight trips all the time, so it's not like experience was an issue.
When was your first overnight by yourself?
Oh, man, that had to be a couple years later. Um, I stayed away from solo overnights a lot because I was very nervous, and
Mhm.
I think finally I had to just do it because I got cabin fever, and it was February, and I and nobody else would go with me because I was too crazy to go camping in February.
Uh,
So, I ended up going by myself, and, I did get a when I was asleep, I got a really loud bang and a whistle, which was kinda cool, but, ended up with, like, 14 inches of snow on my tent that morning, so I don't do
whoa.
winter camping anymore. Yeah,
Yeah.
first and only time.
Yeah, I don't blame you. No, where does your story take you as the time goes on from these experiences?
So, I moved back up to New Jersey, and I thought my bigfooting career was over because I was like, "There's nothing gonna be up in New Jersey." And then I look on the websites and with all the reports, and I see that New Jersey is number 5 on the list for Bigfoot sightings. And I was like, "Holy crap, that's really cool." And then I dive into it a little more and I'm like, "Oh, Sussex County is number 1 on that list." And then I'm thinking about it, I'm like, "Wow, that's pretty high up there." That's better than a lot of other places to look for Bigfoot. So
Yeah.
I started doing research and I really dove into research in Sussex County and New Jersey, and I really got into the shows and stuff, and kind of like I hit on before was the shows are all these shows on TV except for a select handful are made for ratings,
Yeah.
and and it's cool. Like you mentioned Ghost Adventures, and that's a cool show. I'm a fan of it, but I've been on one ghost hunt before. I'm not a paranormal investigator. That talk about being scared. I'll go look for a bipedal hominid out in the woods, no problem. You put me in a house with a possible ghost in it, we got we got issues. But I did that one time, and it was totally different than the show. So, and I get that, but people don't understand. I think it gives a false representation of what Bigfooting actually is. I think with what you get from looking at it from the outside perspective, not as a Bigfoot researcher or someone interested in Bigfoot themselves. Um, you look at the shows on TV, and people are going to be like, "Wow, those people are absolutely crazy." And that's why I kind of wanted to make a show that says like, okay, we are absolutely insane. However, there is a reason behind our madness and a rhyme behind our reason of what we do. And another reason why I wanted to make the show, and the main reason why I wanted to make the show, was to entice friends and families to get off outside and off the couch and into nature. Because, like I said before, I was always an inside child growing up. So making this show, that was the main reason, and I think I've done that through the years, and I've had some pretty positive feedback, so it's awesome. I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, that's really great. I think I also think that it's really cool that like this is crazy.
Oh, it's
This is
insane.
I like sometimes I can't stand when people take it too serious. Like
Mm,
you're out there looking for a bipedal like hominid. You know you're out there looking for this creature that and when you describe it to somebody, it's just like I can't believe it. I can't even fathom something like that
yeah,
living
yeah.
in the woods.
I mean, you say, you take it seriously. Like I do this full time. Like this is my full time occupation. I stopped doing EMT and stuff because of COVID, and I picked this up full time, and it's been pretty fun. But you also said something um, too. What did you say about? I forget.
About knowing that it's crazy, not taking it too serious to the point where you don't have fun with it or
Oh,
anything like that.
yeah, yeah, and that's something that I don't understand either. Is people that don't. You have to have fun. If you don't have fun doing this thing, you know, and it's not even about like going back to like the whole point of the show and getting people outside. You don't even have to look for Bigfoot. Like I got into like survival stuff. Like I can rub two sticks together and make a fire. Like I never thought I could be able to do that. Like that's cool. Like I got into fishing and hiking and backpacking and stuff. And there's just so many different things that you could do outside. So I know Bigfooting just as an event, as an experience, may not be for everybody, but that shouldn't hinder your ability to get outside and try to find something that you do like to do.
Yeah, this is just like an
This
extra
this
layer
was
to
this was my escape to get outside, my reasoning to get outside.
yeah.
And I tell people it's you're like, "Oh, what is Bigfooting?" And I say, "Oh, it's like camping on steroids, basically. It's doing everything that
Yeah.
you would normally do camping, except now you go and add this extra layer, like you said, of Bigfoot on top of it, and it makes it absolutely insane."
Yeah, going into the woods and then hoping to get a sight of a monster in the woods.
Yeah. Well, even more so, it's like going fishing. Like the way, especially the way we go and look for Bigfoot, and with our investigative techniques, is we try to go fishing for a Bigfoot. So we will set out items, either such as bait, if the law allows it to, we will, because you have to check your local laws where you go about baiting animals. Um, or the general premise is what we'll go out on a night hike and do vocalizations and hope that a Bigfoot will come into camp at night when we get back, and that's when we're going to videotape this, or thermal image, or whatever, to get evidence of this creature. So
Yeah.
we're actually hoping for a close encounter. It's crazy.
Oh, I wanted to ask, what are your methods for when you go out?
Yeah, so there's a couple different methods that we use. So during the day, what we'll do is generally we'll meet with witnesses during the day. We'll go to a place that they've had their encounter and recreate what they do. Or what we'll do is we'll go scouting and look for areas that we're going to go to and hike at night. We go to them during the day, for a couple different reasons. One, to check for evidence such as hair, Bigfoot footprints, stick structures, which Bigfoot can are said to do, which is kind of like breaking trees and making different kind of structures with trees.
Oh yeah.
Um, and we'll also, of course, check the safety to make sure that we are able to safely navigate it at night, and we're not going to get lost or injured because we can't. Nobody can get injured on one of these things. That's we take safety very seriously. So, and then at night, like I kind of touched on before, is what we'll do is, generally speaking, the first night we'll just do a very quiet night hike. We won't do any vocalizations. The second night we'll do some very small vocalizations on our night hike or a couple tree knocks from camp. And then the third night is our big night, and that's when we'll go out as far as we possibly can, uh, very stealth, complete silence if we could, and then we're going to turn on the party. We're going to turn on our white lights and talk and chatter all the way back to camp and do vocalizations and trying to lure that Bigfoot back into camp.
To kind of entice them. Like what is it's been quiet for 2 days. What's
Yeah.
going on? Let's
or
check it
or
out.
just like fishing, I'm gonna be that like injured fish. I'm gonna be that injured deer that Bigfoot's gonna come eat. And I have a
Yeah.
deer call, and I'm sure I don't sound like any sort of well-off deer when I do that thing. So
Sound like an injured deer.
oh, I'm sure. I don't know what I'm saying, but it can't be anything good.
You're saying free food.
Yeah.
uh, so when you go out, you say 3 days. You
Yeah,
spend on these things.
generally we're in an area for 4 days or 3 nights. I think that's really the minimum amount of time that, you can have a successful, well, when I not say successful, that minimum amount of time you can have, a really, in-depth investigation of the area to really know the terrain, know the geography, and know what kind of plants and animals are already in the area, where you can go, where the witnesses of things. That's you really need a good solid 3 days. Best to do is like a week, 5 day trip is the best. But I know, a lot of people have other obligations, so that's hard to do.
Yeah, and you bring people with you
Uh,
on these.
I have a team of about 30 people across the United States that I've kind
Oh
of hand
wow.
selected, that generally come out with me. A lot of them are located by me. I'm in northwestern New Jersey, so I have a lot in the tri-state area: New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey,
All
and then
right.
that's where we do most of our expeditions. In the tri-state area, we do go all over though. I have a Florida trip coming up the beginning of next year, which is awesome.
Wow. Yeah. Well, if you guys ever come out to like the Colorado area,
I
surprisingly,
was
we don't have a lot that
I
goes
don't
on out
I don't
here.
care because you have some really good hiking out
Oh
there.
yeah.
Yeah, and actually, my friend, you did an episode on a graveyard out there, I think it was, and
Oh yeah. The the park,
yeah,
Cheeseman Park, that used to be a
yeah,
cemetery. Yeah.
and one of my good friends who helps me with my show, she was just saying she listens to that episode that she actually knew I was telling her I was going to be on this show, and she's like, "Oh my god, I've listened to that before," so that's really cool.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, yeah, a little plug for your show there.
Well, that's awesome. That's good to hear. Uh, Now, when you go out on these, you said 4 days, 3 nights.
Mhm.
Generally, it's almost like when you're like going out for a hunt. You want to get the lay of the land. You have to really,
Sure.
like you said, you look for prints. You look for any hair that you can find.
Mhm.
Um, how do you how do you go about identifying prints? Because I know that sometimes when it's raining or wet out, sometimes the ground can erode and it'll make a smaller print look bigger
Sure.
than it.
Es Yep, especially in winter with the snow melt.
Yeah,
Snow melting will make a print look a lot bigger than it actually is. Yeah, it really takes, just a lot of experience out there. You see a lot of footprint casts that are, um, really stellar, you know? And they're the ones that everybody is they're like, "Oh man, look at this one." They hold it up and everybody takes pictures with it. But in the field, you don't get that. I mean, that's like a once in a lifetime cast opportunity, or track find. Generally, what you get is very partial, eroded, unknown, kind of looks like a human footprint. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, and that's like 99% of what we get. And then obviously, along with tracking, you don't only look for the Bigfoot footprints, but you also look for the animals in the area, like such as deer. If it's great to find uh, game trails. That's one of the best ways to look for Bigfoot footprints is to and get hair samples is to follow these game trails. And another kind of
That
important
makes sense.
factor is you when you're following this game trail, if you have to bend over when you're following it, it's probably not a Bigfoot trail because Bigfoot, I don't think would be more of a deer trail because deer are a lot lower than we walk. But if you don't have to bend over and it's clear cut at about 8 foot tall above you, then you might be onto something. So
Yeah,
something
no,
something to look for being out in the field.
that's a really smart idea. I didn't think like follow the game trails, like the food, really,
Hmm.
like follow the
Yeah,
food makes a
follow the
whole lot of
food,
sense.
follow the water. Yeah. Another thing is power and gas line cuts. That's like a Bigfoot highway. A lot of animals that Bigfoot prey on, and a lot of food that Bigfoot eats. I think Bigfoot eat like what bear eat.
Uh,
So a lot of grasses, berries, and a lot of them grow along these power line and gas line cuts. And I see that through Sussex County. Actually, we have a gas line cut that travels through the county, and I think like 90% of the sightings are within a mile of each direction of this gas line cut.
wow. Yeah, I didn't know that at all. I didn't think about that was something I never knew. So that's
Well,
cool
there you
to
go.
yeah, that's really good knowledge. What are your like what if, when you've gone out, what have been some of your biggest takeaways like that are not necessarily um hearing a knock or finding like a print or anything like that. Like
Yeah.
something that's small that lets you know like okay, that was definitely something even if it wasn't something crazy that happened.
You mean Bigfoot related or just in
Yeah, yeah,
general?
yeah. Yeah, Bigfoot related.
Bigfoot related. It's always nice to hear that little knock or whatever,
Uh,
or it's really cool in the morning around camp, especially when you have a bunch of people, and you're always you tell the stories of, oh, we heard this around or something was around camp last night and we heard it walking and blah 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 blah. And that's always that always happens, and it's always kind of like the coolest thing because chances are it wasn't Bigfoot, but it could be, and it's I always look forward to that because it always happens. It's great.
yeah, I had a coworker who had well, I have a coworker who would go backpacking all the time.
Mm,
He'd do the 14ers out here all the time, and he said that one day it was like raining a whole lot. Nobody else wanted to go and stay the night on the mountain because it was raining so much. So him and his buddy just went there, and he said all night he can hear something
mm,
walking around his camp, and he asked his friend like, "Oh, did you hear that?" And he said, "Yeah, it sounded like somebody was walking around because they can tell it was walking 2 feet
yeah,
rather than like something walking on all fours." And then at the end of it, they kind of just said, "Oh, it was just a bear.
right,
It was just a bear walking around." But he
yeah.
specifically would tell me, "No, it sounds like 2 feet. It sounds
Mhm.
definitely like 2 feet pacing around the camp."
And that's somebody, I'm assuming that's been in the woods for a little bit if you're a backpacker.
Yeah,
So and you do those your 14ers, so I'm assuming that they know what a bear sounds like,
yeah,
and that's kinda what I gather too from a lot of hunters and stuff, and And a lot of reports I get from up here and really all over the United States, but specifically up here, a lot of hunters get vocalizations. They say, I've heard of everything that's in Northwest New Jersey, and I know every animal. There's not too many crazy animals that are up this way, and that was nothing that I've ever heard before, and that's cool. Speaking of that, I we got a vocalization from High Point State Park up here, which is in North New Jersey. It's kind of my stomping grounds, if you will. We got a vocalization there from a couple of years back, and it was cool. I did a barred owl call, and I got this reply back, and it was two long sustained howls, and I actually sent it off to a linguist. Obviously got it on audio recording from two separate audio recorders, which is really cool.
Oh yeah.
Um, but we sent it off to a linguist from the military who also does Bigfoot. He's like a crypto linguist, and he came back and he said because of this, this, and this, it's outside of Bigfoot. It's outside of human vocal range, and it's also no known animal,
Hmm.
and that comes from Northwest New Jersey.
Yeah.
So that makes you think, it's like, man, what could that be?
Yeah, that's pretty wild. What you don't have to make the sound, but what is the closest thing you can kind of pinpoint it to
Well,
what it kind of would sound like?
Bigfoots make a lot of different sounds. There's a long howl sound, a
Yeah.
whoo. There's the whoop, like a whoop. Whistles, clacks, clicks, anything you could really think of, Bigfoot will do. I think they, instead of, like, people say they knock on trees like a tree knock. I don't think they do. I think they actually just clap, and they use like that kind of percussion little
That's
echo.
what I always thought too. I
Yeah,
always thought in the sense of like, when you open your mouth and you make that
yeah,
noise and
yep.
it sounds like a knock. I think
It
because they
sounds
have bigger
just like a
mouths.
tree knock. Yep, they have
Yeah.
bigger knocks and bigger hands. Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's stellar that I'm not the only one that thinks that.
Yeah, that's always what came into my head because I was like, they always say that they hear knocking, and then sometimes they won't find what like where the tree has been hit.
Yeah.
I was like,
Well,
if
not
something
only
was
that,
hitting and
it's
knocking that loud, you would definitely see a mark on
and
the
and in
tree.
in my experience that the Bigfoots knock back really quick. So that
Mhm.
would mean like they're carrying around a tree in their hand, or a big stick in there, and nobody has ever witnessed. No witness have ever seen a Bigfoot carrying a stick before.
Yeah.
So I don't think that wouldn't make sense to me.
And have you heard the mimicking that people have talked about? Have you heard any
Yeah,
of
I
that?
I don't know. That vocalization that I was just telling you about, the howl kind of set off the coyotes, and you could tell that there was something different about the coyote, the coyote yells, the yips. And I know
Yeah.
we have like coy wolves up here, so that could have been what it is. It's coy wolf is like a hybrid mixture between a coyote and a wolf, which have in the Catskills and the Adirondacks, and now in northern New Jersey, which is cool but horrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, so it could have been something like that, but they're also known to mimic owls and even people. I've heard reports of them mimicking.
And like people in the sense of like the voice or just like a yell of a person?
So there was a witness out of Florida, out of the green swamp in Florida, where I had my second encounter. He was camping there, and it sounded like two Chinese women speaking in a different language backwards.
Oh, like the samurai chatter, like the
Similar to that's what I would guess
yeah,
he would describe it as, and he didn't. This was over text, so I didn't. He didn't. I wasn't able to get what it actually sounded
yeah,
like. But I mean, that's pretty horrifying if you think about it.
yeah.
I mean, I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I know. I've heard stories of people saying that they hear the samurai chatter that just sounds like gibberish, kind
Mhm.
of going back and forth. And then there was one story that I had came across that involved um they were hearing something yell the dog's name the exact way that the
Mm,
owner would yell for the dog. So when the person would yell for Lila, it was something mimicking, trying to make it sound like Lila, but not
yeah.
really saying it the exact same way.
I've heard that too. I actually, and I think it was an encounter in Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken, where it mimicked like the father, like saying the daughter's name, like come inside, like Michelle, and it sounded just
Yeah,
like the father calling for the daughter who was out playing, except it came from the woods instead of the house.
I think that would that would be that would that would be exactly when I get out. Like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. Like, that's where I draw the line.
Yeah,
Uh, have you now when you started, you said you started your show. How long have you been doing the show for?
we're filming season 7 now, so we've been doing it since 2016.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
really cool. That's
well, I think we have 40 something episodes. I've actually driven. I did the math out because I was bored one day, so I did the math out. It's actually I've driven to each expedition that I've been on. The amount from here to the moon, 3/5 of the way to from here to the moon. So
it's a
that's,
it's a lot of
that's
driving, man. It's a lot of driving.
but I will say I do have a customized uplifted Subaru Outback made just for Bigfoot. So it has all the graphics on the side. It's called the Bigfoot Mobile Command Center. And what I did was for um, filming the show, I found that having a normal vehicle, although works well, I don't have the ability to charge everything I need to, and I'm not comfortable sleeping in a regular vehicle. So what I did was I gutted the whole inside of the Subaru Outback, and I made a sleeping platform along with some cabinets spacing, and I put it through in an extra car battery. So now I can charge everything, all of my equipment. I can sleep there. I don't have to pay for camping fees and stuff like that if I don't want to. So
That's
it's
super dope.
yeah, it gets me, for long trips and stuff. It's lovely. It does exactly what it's intended to do.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds really cool. You're not doing it in a little Honda Civic.
No, no, I've been there, did that for a year or two,
Yeah.
and I was not a fan. Yeah.
Uh, have you now when you're out there and you've experienced some crazy things like from your first encounter with the rocks to eye shine to hearing vocalizations and possible mimicking. Have you seen what people they always attribute the two together and it's the lights and then a Bigfoot sighting. They always see like floating lights or a UFO light in the sky. You know, they always want to attribute these two together. They always say, "Oh, well, it can't be one or the other. They're
All
both
right.
together."
So my short answer is no. My long answer is yes. So, it was actually right before that Bigfoot vocalization in High Point, and we had 5 other people, and we were sitting there, looking at the night sky, and we saw a zigzagging UFO, and it was like an M just going across the top of the sky. I had no idea what it was doing. It just zigzagged as best it could across the sky from one side to the other. We all saw it. We all commented on it. And about 15 minutes later, we got that Bigfoot vocalization. But that's not enough for me to say that they're related.
Yeah, that they're linked. They're together. Like,
If I mean, if it happened at the same time, okay. 15 minutes though is too much for my biological thought process to
what are you
say that
talking
these
about,
2 are
Mike?
related.
You obviously saw the light, and then that Bigfoot came from that light.
I know, and everybody that's in that believes that UFO and aliens are related, they're screaming right now saying, "That's
Yeah.
not gonna be enough. That says enough."
Yeah, because well, I mean, especially because you said you attributed Bigfoot to being a biological being that's there, not a metaphysical
Right.
being.
And I always challenge anybody to bring me evidence otherwise. Show me evidence of that they're connected to UFOs or they're related to paranormal or interdimensional. Show me that evidence and change my mind. But nobody has been able to do that or really show me any evidence whatsoever that I could really prove as evidence.
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
if
What
anybody
do
out
you think
there,
of the? Yeah, anybody challenge my.
please.
uh, what do you think of when there are the footprints that just seemingly disappear?
Oh, so okay. Uh, so there's this really good story out of New Jersey, um, and this happens a lot, right? So okay, so I've found footprints that have just disappeared before, and again, all of your paranormal people are going to be out there saying, "Well, that's not enough proof for you," and it's not because I've seen regular footprints that disappear as well that go into nothing. I've seen deer footprints and bear footprints that are walking and then just seemingly disappear, but we all know that they can't do that.
Yeah.
So what's a really cool story out of a Lair State Park in central Jersey. I was actually just down there giving a presentation yesterday. Was this guy was hiking in winter and following a Bigfoot footprint. He's a professor at a college down there, and he was following this Bigfoot trackway for like a mile. And it's in the middle of the woods, and he was following it, following it, following it. Snow on the ground, heavy snow, and seemingly the tracks had just stopped. He looked around, he couldn't see anything, and he shook his head. He's a professor, and he's like, "How is this possible? This isn't right." So he went back, and then the next day he went back to the same exact spot. He followed his tracks out there, and he got to the same exact tree, and the tracks kept going.
Hmm.
So if he looked up,
Yeah.
Bigfoot would have been in that tree. He would have saw Bigfoot up in that tree, I think. How
Well,
cool is that?
yeah. Well, it probably would have been terrifying if you looked up and
Yeah.
saw it, but
Yeah, yeah, so jumped on him or something, yeah.
yeah, it would have been awesome to hear about. I wouldn't want to
It
experience
would have been a really cool story.
it. Yeah. It- Now, have you ever had an actual like a full on sighting of a
Fun
creature?
fun enough is I only think that Bigfoot are, like, 70% out there. I don't even think they're 100% out there because 'cause I've never seen one. I
Hmm.
think it's gonna take that actual class A, it's gonna be right in front of me to see it. I think I've been within 20 yards of Bigfoot. I think I've been surrounded in the past by Bigfoot. And I actually think I've taken a picture of one down in the Pine Barrens in New Jersey, but it's so unclear and it's such a blurry image. You have to circle it, and
Yeah.
it's never going to see the light of day. So yeah, people are kind of shocked when they say, "Well, you devoted your pretty much your entire adult life to looking for Bigfoot, and you don't even think he's fully 100% out there." And I say, "No, it is kind of crazy, I suppose."
No, I think that's the point. Really, you do it because you're trying to get that 100%.
Yeah.
Which each with each experience you have, I bet you it kind of creeps a little bit higher.
Yeah.
That percentage
Well,
goes up more.
and it's funny because it's like it doesn't. It actually goes down because over time you don't get evidence every time. That's another
Yeah.
common misconception is people think you get evidence. You go out and you get a lot of evidence. I get evidence like 10% of the time I'm out, and that's on a good year. So but it's that low of percentage that it's like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. When it starts getting to
Yeah.
like, the whole summer's gone by and I haven't gotten anything, it's like, man, this is getting kind of boring. And then you get that one howl, and it's like, man, he knew it. He knew I was gonna stop. So
Mhm.
he,
It ignites that fire all
yeah,
over again.
he maybe we're wondering who's fishing who, really.
Yeah. No, that's how it is. That's how it is whenever I do paranormal investigations. Uh, I just I don't expect anything to happen. I think I'm in the same boat as you. Like, yeah, I believe it, but not 100%. I haven't had that 100%.
Hmm.
I haven't seen an apparition appear in front of my face.
Right, exactly.
I've had weird things like in my recent one I had a cat toy that um any little like if you tap it really good, it'll light up. But if
Okay.
you leave it alone, it just stays not lit up. and I'm doing something on my camera. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with one of my pieces of equipment, and then the ball just lit up
Mm.
on its own. And I even in the video, I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know what to do with this now. Like,
Yeah. Right. That's neat.
yeah, but I think I get where you're coming from with it. I think it's healthy also to go with not just 100% like I know this exists. I
Yeah, you
know
have to
it's
have
out there.
a healthy skepticism, absolutely,
Yeah.
and with any evidence that comes in, I try to, especially my own evidence. I'm the biggest skeptic of my own evidence, and that's why like you don't see things every episode that I do is because I don't get evidence every time I go out. It's just not if you see an episode with no evidence, you just see myself, me making fun of myself for a half hour or so.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's not all about looking for Bigfoot. That has actually nothing to do with Bigfoot at all. It's about the experience of getting out there and being with your friends and doing something that is completely wild and something that you could honestly say not a lot of people do. I think that's
Yeah.
that's the that's kind of the rouse for me is that I'm doing this thing and it's pretty damn cool.
Yeah. And plus your boots on the ground. I don't think a lot of people do
Yeah.
that very much anymore, especially when podcasting became like so popular. It's mainly people just talking like me what I'm doing with you right now, you know. I
Yeah.
haven't I haven't gone out into the woods and looked for Bigfoot, so I'm getting my fix through you.
Well, when I come
Uh
out to Colorado, we'll change that.
yeah. Again, like I said in the message when you had messaged me, like big hell yes to that. Big hell yes to that. My fiance probably wouldn't come along, but
Ah, we'll have a guys' night. It's all right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, she's scared of butterflies. So uh what do you think it's gonna do for you when you actually get that 100%? Like if you got
Man,
the sighting, if you looked up in the tree and you saw one looking down at you.
man, I don't know. I've been asked that before, and that's such a good question because it's either going to do one of two things. It's either going to um, make me dive into this even more and get two cars with full vehicle wraps on it that have Bigfoot Mobile Command Center on it and get a second show going, or it's going to settle me down and be like, you know what? The reason why I got into Bigfooting is because I wanted to know what threw rocks at me in
Yeah.
North Florida, and that's my mission and my original goal. So when I complete that goal, is that going when I accomplish that, is that going to be good for me? Am I going to be like, oh, let me go back and play SOCOM a little bit more on my computer? Or am I gonna be like, "Oh my god, let me dive more into this." I hope I dive more into it because this ride so far has been such an amazing adventure. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah, what type of experience would you want to have? Would you want it just to be a sighting? Would you want it to be close enough that you can touch it?
Oh god, no. I don't think that close. I don't know if we want I don't know what we're talking about, but, no, I would like to, you know, obviously I think every researcher's kind of goal, no matter if you admit it or not, is to get physical proof of the being. So if you could get a hair sample or some kind of DNA from this creature, I think that would be the end goal, kind of the end game. Um, to do that, you would have to come across a dead Bigfoot or be very lucky to come across some very good specimens of evidence in the field. Um,
Yeah.
so I think if I could get a video of one that's like a good Class A video that I probably wouldn't even show it to anybody. It'd probably just be like for me.
Yeah,
Um,
because you'd probably be
I
it'd probably
I
be
don't know.
just tore apart like any other video that people.
Yeah, you might get super famous for it. You might, if it's really good, but you would get tore apart from it, absolutely. And it's if it's a legit video, that doesn't really make a difference if people don't, think it's real or not.
Yeah.
But um, is it worth the notoriety and fame for that to think about it? Now you're going to have people in the woods trying to kill Bigfoot because they know it's out there.
Yeah.
Is
Didn't
that
somebody put
is
a bounty out on a
Yeah,
Bigfoot somewhere?
Oklahoma actually has
Oklahoma, there
a
it was,
bounty
yeah.
on it. And I think that's the silliest thing, but it's like, why would I want if that's not my I don't wanna see when any of these things hurt. That's not
Yeah.
my thing. So I would hope that, by releasing a video, or if somebody does get a really good video, I hope by releasing that it would help conserve them and help conservation efforts, rather than have everybody and their moms in ghillie suits shooting at each other in the woods, because that's
Yeah.
what a
No.
Bigfoot looks like.
Those are what
So,
all the old stories are based on. Anytime when there was like a new cryptid that came into the
mm,
scene, it was just like everybody in the town going out and shooting
yeah,
whatever they see as a threat.
yeah, and that's scary.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not a good thing to
Especially when you're
have
just trying to
happen.
enjoy yourself out in the woods, you know?
Yeah, 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 exactly.
What's been your craziest experience?
Ah,
Is it what?
man. Oh, man, I got bear maced one time. That was pretty crazy. That was bad. I got deer urined one time. I
Cool,
got
cool.
sprayed with deer urine. Yeah, that was a good story. That was up in Whitehall, New York. But no, the craziest experience would have to be when I was surrounded in Whitehall, and the audio is on my YouTube page. Anybody could take a listen to it, but it's actually quite incredible. You could hear trees being snapped. You could hear rocks being thrown through the woods, hitting trees right next to the group that's in the woods, right next to us. And you could it was just it went on for like 6 minutes. It's very intense. We don't have video, it's all audio, which is even cooler because it makes you think, well, since we didn't have a video camera, would this all happen if we did have a video camera? But
Yeah.
that's a totally different topic. But that was probably the scared most scared I've been, besides that initial first night, and the craziest night ever in the woods. That was up in Whitehall, New York. Actually, going back up there, they're having a Bigfoot festival in let me see, the end of September. So I'm going up there for that, which is cool.
I'll have to there's um there's a guy I know on TikTok and he lives I think near that area, near Whitehall
Oh,
up there, and he's been having some crazy experiences. He travels and he lives in like his van. He like
oh, okay,
customized his van and he kind of just travels around up
yeah, yeah.
there. And I know he says he's been having experiences like something like kind of bumping his
Oh,
van
really?
while he's sleeping
Oh,
in it.
okay.
I'll have to send you his info. If
Yeah,
you're
for
gonna head up
sure.
near that way, I think that would be really cool for you
Yeah,
to get
no,
in
for sure.
contact.
And we're actually going to be camping and filming in Vermont, where they had the Vermont baby Bigfoot picture taken, which we actually camped up there last year and we filmed an episode about it. But if you're familiar with that photo, it's the one where the Bigfoot's by an apple tree and it looks like holding the baby Bigfoot. I don't know,
Oh
it's
yeah.
the famous ones, but we're actually going to be camping about 20 feet from that location, which is awesome.
Are you hoping for like things to just get more and more like crazy as time goes on?
I don't know, man. I hope so. I hope, as much as I hope one day I see the Bigfoot, or see one, and have that class A. I also hope that it takes me a long time to get to that point, because I'm sure
Yeah.
having a hell of a time doing this, and I don't want that to end.
I just imagine how freaked out you would be if you're just kind of wandering through the woods there, right? And then all of a sudden a baby Bigfoot kind of jumps on your back,
Oh man,
like just
yeah.
to play, but like it just
Yeah, we have baby deer that scamper towards me, so I can totally see me just walking through the woods and a baby Bigfoot just coming up and be like, "Hey,
yeah. You're
where's
like,
mom?"
please go the other way. I don't know where
Yeah,
your mom is, but please
yeah.
just get out of here.
But let me get a picture first. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me get a couple hairs. Hold on one second.
uh, Now, on the side of Bigfoot, because they always get brought up in the same kind of conversations, um, what are your thoughts on the dog man?
Mm. Yeah, the dog man, I haven't looked into it enough to make a solid. I can't have a discussion on it because I just haven't looked into it enough. I think there are a lot of identifications of Bigfoot, but some of the reports of a dog man are so um, clear it couldn't be anything else, which is surprising.
Yeah.
I stick to Bigfoot because that's what I think I got into it initially for. But there are a ton of other cryptids I would love to get into. Dogman. I would love to go out to Tasmania and look for the Tasmanian tiger. That would be really
Oh,
cool.
that would be cool.
Um, we actually have a new documentary, which I'm going to start next year. Is we have the Mantis Man of the Musconetcong River, which is up here in New Jersey, and that's a 6 foot tall praying mantis dude who has been seen for about 30 years around here. So that'll be next year.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The most terrifying thing is I'm going to be kayaking the entire length of the river, and I can't swim.
No, I did that in Nebraska. It was not. I didn't have fun. Hopefully, you have more fun than I did. uh, yeah, I've had. I have to send you the episodes I did. Bigfoot Anonymous. I don't know if you've seen him on Instagram or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um, I've had him on share a Dogman experience, and then also I've had another person on who's a filmmaker, and he said that he was just driving home. He saw what looked like a giant like wolf crossing the street,
Mm.
and then once it reached the end of the street, he just stood up
Oh man.
on two legs and then walked away. And that was as
Yeah.
simple as his story was. And I
Yeah.
think his is one of my favorite because it's so simple.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't. It's something that you're not going to make up. That something that simple.
Yeah, he even says
That's
he's like,
cool.
"I don't know how to explain it, man. It just stood up
Mm.
and walked away." So,
Yeah. It's wild.
I think I would much rather have the Bigfoot sighting than a Dogman. Dogman stories never sound very.
Well, and they seem to be a lot more aggressive than the Bigfoot
Yeah.
are too. So, um, yeah, that's true. I don't know how I would feel about coming across a dog man.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it seems like you've been putting in a lot of work. You put in a lot of
Uh,
work with the shit with your show.
yeah, yeah, it's a lot of work, but I got a guy early on. I think it was in season two, and he shot me a message on my YouTube something or another, and he was like, "Listen, I have this new condition that I can't get out in the woods, new acute condition, and I'm not going to be able to get out in the woods. Long story short, for the rest of my life. And I want you to know that I live vicariously through your videos because I used to do what you do, and I want to thank you for that." And I knew right then and there, it's like, boom, I'm going to keep making this show.
Yeah.
That totally makes all the time and the effort and the frustrations and the aggravations, I'm sure you could attest to, as being in the podcast world as well, of the the things that come along with it. um
Yeah.
but it's totally made it all worthwhile. And if that gentleman still keeps watching my show, and I hope he does, then I'll keep making it.
Yeah, that's a pretty amazing takeaway. Like even if you're not getting that 100% sighting, you're out there and somebody's enjoying the woods still through your
Yeah.
content.
I couldn't ask more of anything. That just means so much to me.
Yeah. Is there any other stories that you would want to share with us that have happened out there?
Oh
Even if it's
man.
not Bigfoot related, like anything.
Well, I think just another takeaway too is not necessarily about bigfooting, but it's just about I think traveling in itself, and um, you know doing this show. Like I said, it's brought me to some amazing places, and I think that's really what people should take away from bigfooting. Really, is you can see these amazing places. You get to camp in some of these beautiful, wonderful areas, like um, you know just seeing the lighthouses in Michigan and going down to the Red River Gorge in Kentucky and going down the Florida Trail and seeing the Everglades National Park and stuff like it, and seeing and Mount Katahdin in Maine, like all that stuff. If
Yeah.
it wasn't for Bigfooting, I would have never seen any of it. So it really, take advantage of whatever opportunities that you have in life, and if it brings you bigfooting, or if it brings you to the top of a mountain, take advantage of it.
Yeah. That's another great takeaway from it. People should people should get out there. I mean, it's beautiful out there.
Really is.
Like,
Opt outside,
yeah,
100%.
yeah. So why don't you? I mean, I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing a bunch of stuff. I mean, I loved talking to you because,
Oh, this was great. Yeah, I had a
yeah,
really good time.
yeah, I got to ask some weird questions.
Not weird at
uh,
all, which is cool.
why don't you let the people know where they can find you, where they can
Yeah,
watch
absolutely.
your show,
So my
everything?
show is called In the Shadow of Big Red Eye, and we're on YouTube. The YouTube channel is called Sussex County Bigfoot, or you could just search the show's name. We're also on Facebook, same name, and on Instagram at Shadow of Red Eye.
Right. Yeah, and I'll put all of it in the show notes too,
Cool.
so everybody
Yeah,
can
I
go. Even
appreciate
when
that,
I
my
share
friend.
this out, I'll put links to everything.
Oh, sweet. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we're gonna have to have you come back on. If you do come out to Colorado, I think what would be really cool is if I go out Bigfooting with you, and then you go out and investigate a haunted old prison with me.
Uh, mm, I don't know about that one, sir. You'd have to talk me into that. You'd have to get me. I don't know. I'll think about it.
Yeah, an old timey Western prison. That's what.
We'll see.
Yeah, I'll get the information. I'll send you to see if it's scary or not. Anyways,
Yeah. All right.
but again, I appreciate you coming on. I was put all your stuff in the show notes below. Um, and to everybody watching, listening, don't forget to ask questions and face your fears. Thanks for joining me and Mike on this episode of Induced Fear. Bye,
Take care,
folks.
guys.